this reality, my brother, man, you know, and I know this is going to be a general, broad question, and I'll narrow it down to a couple follow-ups. But what do you think this is all about, man? Like, what is this thing, man? This thing they call life and reality. What is this thing, brother?
Oh man, it's the first thing I could say is personally, I'm extremely happy to be going through it. I'm very thankful to even have a life to where I can question what it's all about. It's a rough road, and there's a lot of adversity and a lot of ups and downs. But I wouldn't rather not have it. I appreciate it so much. I think what it is for different people is different. For me personally, I think we're all just trying to figure it out ourselves, and there's no other person like you or like me. There's no other person like anybody else. Everybody has their own journey, and I personally think everybody has their own, their own get down on what it is to them. For me personally, I try to spread as. To me, this is a very daunting world. There's a lot of horrible shit. There's a lot of there's a low moral bar on a lot of levels, and I just can't believe how treacherous, just generally people, human beings are, But in the midst of all of that, the human beings just provide some of the most beautiful moments and the most inspiring moments for me, And for my life, what I try to do is no matter what. I try to spread as much positivity and as much love as I possibly can, and it's actually I'm just like that. It ain't cheesy or nothing, because in a negative situation I could be a very horrible person because I'm just so valiant against messing up my positivity.
Yes, you're passionate.
I'm very passionate. I've always been like that, and the question keeps going what is it all about for me? Until I find out what it is, what I'm going to do is any opportunity I have to put some positivity into a situation, I will. And when I meet people, I'm pleasant with them until they take that away. If they're not pleasant, I'm like, I'm wasting my time here. But what I do is just always, constantly, no matter what, remember to be thankful for the good things and not let the bad things bring me down, and spread positivity. And that has been working for me, because it feels good when people are looking forward to you being around, or when you hear people talk about you, they're like, oh, that's the coolest dude or whatever. He's major cool. And it's one thing when you just meet somebody and they're a cool person, but when you continuously meet people over years and years and they're still cool, I love meeting people like that. That somebody I met 10 years ago that's oh man, you really are just a good person, because you were exactly like that the last however many times I've seen you over the past decade, and I enjoy that, and I think it's reciprocal. I think other people who really just try to fight through this world with using positivity. Obviously, you can't be no pushover either, but that's the last resort type stuff. But I think other people who enjoy positivity on a high level like meeting people like that, and that's just when I look at it, I don't really know what it's all about. I'm just I'm just going. Not let no adversity in the world change what I can add. The world around us, we can't control that. Things are just going to happen. But what I can control is my addition to the world, and that's always going to be on some positive stuff if I can help it. And other than that, just raise my kids. Once again, raise them to be a positive, stern person, and understanding, not judgmental. Not a professional pushover or nothing like that. But just just spread love, man, And I think I landed right in the perfect job for me. Music allows me to do that, and that's why I enjoy it so much. I love making music, and music is the unifying factor on earth. It's something that all of us have in common, regardless of our huge differences as people. We all have music in common, and that's what it is for me. That's what it is for me. It's still ticking, so who knows if that's going to change or become a more defined concept. But that's where I'm at right now.
Yo, plus, man, it's first off, brother, I gotta say this, Fonz, I agree with you wholeheartedly, and I believe that, you said it. The fact that positive people, attract and like to be around, those positive others, and it's like you're working for the light, man. It's like you're a light, in a colony of darkness that I've heard talked about metaphysically, that there's a colony of darkness and a morsel of light, but that morsel of light can wipe out that entire colony of darkness. You're that light, brother, and I gotta tell you, man, like, that's how I've seen myself, but you don't understand, because I was listening to you, who had inspired my life. Like your lyrics, your songs, and it was like during a time when hip hop, I think, was like a golden period, man, in the '90s. I think that it's a little different, man. I want to ask you, in terms just of hip hop, and I just gotta ask you this notion, this question that's driving me to ask this. What do you see as a difference, between hip hop now and the '90s?
There's a huge difference, and this is my opinion, and this is just from not only being in the industry, but just more so than even being in the industry. I'm a huge fan of music, so I'm way more of a fan than an artist. So from both of those points of views, I think the key difference is the corporate influence. And this happens to anything that's a sensation that becomes huge and becomes commercially viable to the corporate structure. So what happens is like that. This was like really coming to head right around when we were coming out in the next few years. That's when the corporation influence really got into it. Like, okay, we know we can make some money off of this. Prior to that, it was like finding out the way to make money off of this. And after that, it was like, this will exactly make money. Violence sells, sex sells. And once the corporations, the record companies, the big record companies were like, they're into making money, and they're trying to make as much money as they can, and that's what they do. And that's a business, and I feel I understand that. Once they figured out exactly how they could get the most out of it, that's what happened. And they start controlling what comes out, and, a few generations later, this is what's normal. But, I think that's all it is. It hasn't removed, like, the progressive aspect of stuff. But once again, let me say, this happens to every music. Every music, once it gets turned into big business, it gets these cookie cutter paradigms of what will sell the most and to people. And I'm not a basher or any of that. We're just talking about the change that happened, and that's
exactly. The evolution, just the evolution.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually, this is the byproduct of something becoming huge. Anything that becomes huge in a world that's run by capitalism, it has to shape up to make the most out, get the most out of it. It has to be shaped into a form to where it can be monetized efficiently. And hip hop is no different. So now, hip hop as itself is a mainstream music, and the mainstream sound of hip hop sounds a certain way because it's mainstream. And that's all due to corporate direction. Like, okay, how to make the most out of this budding music. And around the time when we were signed, and before that, A&Rs and the companies were trying stuff out. They were experimenting, and at some point they figured out exactly what sells, and they got it. And that's what it is. This happens to every single musical genre. Hip hop is not special. You know what I'm saying, in that aspect. So I mean. Right. Yeah, I understand when people are like, wish it was a better time and all of that. I fully get it. I get it. I do. But I try to look at things very practical and very logical, and before I let stuff like my emotions get into it. For me, I'm like, people should be able to listen to what they want to listen to and not listen to what they don't want to listen to. And it's still like that, so it's no big deal. You just got to dig deeper for the more progressive stuff now. It's the only difference. And there's also the advent of modern technology has made it so anybody can record. So there's like a lower bar on talent in general because the access, studio access was a safeguarded thing back in the day. They had middlemen. You had to You have to pay the studio guy, you pay the engineer, you got to buy the tape, over $100 an hour. If you didn't have that, you weren't making no music, or you were tinkering around on a 4-track at home like we were, you know, and until you could get a record deal and get in there. Now you can record your whole everything for a couple $1,000 in your house. You spend a couple $1,000, you have a studio that's good enough to put out a record, and that means a lot more people can put out their stuff that's really not so seasoned, to say it lightly. But yeah, all of those changes like that kind of starts, you know, creates a little oversaturation. But there's still progressive music out there, and not only that, there's like, you know, kids from hoods like getting out the hood making music. I ain't mad at that, you know. So hey,
that's right. That's right. Plus, man, I tell you, you know.